Hello again. Now, the month of May is commemorated as Africa Month, a time when the continent of Africa commemorates the founding of the Organization of African Unity on the 25th of May in 1963. The OAU, of course, is the precursor to the nowadays the modern African Union. Now, Africa Month also seeks to increase the appreciation and demand for arts and cultural goods, services, and to stimulate competitive markets for trade among African countries. Let's reflect now on Africa Month so far and its significance with the author of Africa Bounces Back, Victor Kgomoeswana. Victor, good afternoon and thank you very much for your time. It's Africa Month yet again. And as I was thinking about this interview, parts of Africa still have not silenced their guns. Parts of Africa are not growing as fast as they should. Inflation is on the rise. The prices of food and fuel is going up. The IMF is warning of potential social unrest. It's 59 years ago that this continental body was founded. What is there to celebrate today, Victor?
Good day, Braden. I agree with you. If I had been a 59-year-old man and I had all these resolutions that I had set for myself and I had not moved as much as I would have liked, I would not feel great. You're right. Example, silencing the guns by 2020. That should have happened. The Grand eNCA Dam, it's something that's been discussed for so many years. The Pan-African e-network. If you go to the website of the African Union, you'll find so many grand plans that should and are supposed to work for the betterment of Africa. What's there to celebrate, though, I would say is because unlike the African, or the organization, the OAU, let's just abbreviate it, the African Union has demonstrated from time to time that it's got the means to intervene. If you look at West Africa, when the government of the Gambia was refusing to leave after a democratic election, ECOWAS was able to intervene and get something going. There are initiatives here and there, countries like Kenya in East Africa, able to assist in strife-torn countries. The problem is we can't celebrate because we seem to be out acknowledging the origins of it. The origins of lack of African unity, Braden, will be traced back to the Berlin Conference, where the division of Africa was never about African interests. So if we are not tackling this problem by realizing that the cause was for the rest of the world to benefit from Africa, if we keep on upholding sovereignty, even though it means poverty continued, we are going to not move far. We have a lot to celebrate because we have now the African Continental Free Trade Area that has been signed. And I know you're going to say, well, it's been signed, but is it happening? It's going to take time because we need to at least integrate across the regional economic blocks and we can move to the Pan-African continent. Instances of the African passport, that's something that's a step in the right direction. Again, it's not implemented consistently and equally across the continent, but at least there are institutions, there are tools and instruments that are beginning to show that we are moving towards an appreciation that we are one and we start to operate like one. I'm really pinning my hopes on this African Continental Free Trade Area that it will develop the teeth and the instruments to implement itself.
Yeah, and broadly speaking, you are beginning to see African countries trying to do business more and more together, not just having heads of state making this state visit with all the pomp and ceremony, but sometimes you're getting the sense that things are beginning to move in the right direction. When Uhuru Kenyatta was in South Africa a few months ago, he went back to Kenya. There were some kind of discussions about certain trade things happening between the two countries. Just the other day, we had the president, Sisi from Botswana, who was here as well. So it looks like it's moving in the right direction overall. But still, the unity is not there. I mean, especially on the ground. I mean, in our country, we've had a lot of anti-foreign national African sentiments. It's not helping the cause for African unity, Victor.
It is not helping. And remember, when we talk politics, Braden, we make the mistake of forgetting that politics is about economics. So the division of Africa is problematic because it does not allow sovereign countries or so-called sovereign African countries to solve their socio-economic problems. And then foreign nationals who are in South Africa from the rest of the continent are running away from an economic catastrophe that's due to the lack of governance and because of corruption. And because of that, we are unable to have peace. You can't have peace on an empty stomach. And here is why the trade is so important. So when you mention, for example, Botswana and Mozambique last week celebrating the railroad that's going to get the importation of coal from Botswana into Mozambique, when you know the fact that in South Africa we have Sepako Cement, which is a joint venture between South Africans and the Nigerian investors, you start seeing that as long as we realize that it's when we do business with one another that we will be able to solve the problems of underprivileged conditions that people are living in those countries, and as a result, they don't have to leave their countries to come here. Most of the people who are here are economic refugees. They are running away from a system that's dysfunctional, and they have to do something to rescue themselves. And as South Africans, unfortunately, you find that because our own economy has not grown to become inclusive, we are still called the most unequal country in the world. I don't know about the most unequal, but we are unequal. If a mining CEO can earn 300 million while his own workers are earning less than 3,000 a month, you know that we have an inequality, and with that inequality comes socio-political instability.
Yes, and that social political instability does not help people look at Africa positively. So next year is going to be 60th anniversary of the founding of the continental body known as the African Union today. And lest we forget, the African Union was founded in Durban during the presidency of Thabo Mbeki. So what should we look forward to make the 60th anniversary more meaningful for the continent's citizens?
I would continue to push for this intra-Africa trade, at least because we have legal instruments that make it possible for us to trade with one another as African countries. I would pursue this industrialization agenda because there are indications that already African countries are investing in one another. I would also find a way of getting e-learning and all kinds of ICT infrastructure to collaborate among African countries and make it easier to share education. Because remember, ICT makes it not only possible to educate children, but to also implement telemedicine, which means we can benefit from specialists in certain countries of the continent and certain provinces. Just an example, Gauteng has over 1 doctor per 1,000 patients. Limpopo, where I am, has under 0.5 doctors per 1,000 patients. But if you think about it, with telecommunications, and like you and I are talking now, you should be able to have a doctor in Malamulela consulting with a specialist in Miami, Florida, or in Johannesburg. So I would be focusing on those things that would make trade among countries possible. I would be focusing on emphasizing that trade is going to be the liberator of Africa, not just political talk. And I think we can look forward to it because there are already indications that countries are working towards that and they are collaborating. But just don't forget, Braden, when people have tasted power and they've tasted the opportunity to be called Your Excellency this and have blue lights when they travel, it's very hard for them to forego that in the name of regional integration.
And I think they're going to need to forego that because Africa still has governments that are made up of some of the oldest people around. When the continent is more than 50% youth, we should really use that youth dividend in a positive way going forward in this new, fast-changing, digitalizing world. That's my view. Thank you very much, Victor Kgomoeswana, the author of Africa Bounces Back, just helping us just reflect on this month of May that is commemorated annually as Africa Month. The day itself is the 25th of May. Why? Because the continental body was founded on the 25th of May, way back in 1963. So this month is the 59th anniversary. A lot to celebrate, but still a lot of difficulties on the continent.